Now today's shop project was to make the screening for the rear seat cowl, and I wanted it to be an exact match to the screening we have on the intake scoops. And luckily when I was at Lowe's, I was able to get material that I was real happy with. It's shiny and it looks like it's made out of stainless steel. It doesn't say it, but it looks like it is. It's very shiny silver, and it's a real good match to the silver trim on the bike. So this turned out to be a win-win today. It was a very easy project, and I learned a little bit in putting it together. So yesterday we had a really nice ride on the R1. We took advantage of a beautiful day, and overnight the temperatures went right back down. So we are hoping it's going to come up to in the 40s soon. I'll have an extra cup of coffee, but one of the things I thought would be good to do today, because we do have some work on the farm we got to do here. We're getting ready for summer, and Karen wants to work in the garden every day now. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to plan out a small job that I can take care of, and one of them is the grilling on the back of the seat. And thank you to everybody that sent in nice comments, especially Joe Roselli. I really respect his artistic opinion about the grilling we did in the front. Well, we're going to try to do the matching grilling in the tail section today. But of course the first thing I have to do is move some bikes around, be a parking lot attendant. I want to take the Mt09 out, switch the bikes around and get it up on the stand, because I have to take the whole back section, the tail and the seat and everything off. A lot easier to do, and that's why I rearranged the way the bikes were here, because I have some of the kids' furniture from the bed and breakfast job still here. And I want to get this, it's a lot easier if you can at least have some room to work. And believe it or not, that's one of the reasons I don't buy any more motorcycles, because if I had one more bike in here, lights out. It's time to eat. It's time to eat. And you know what's going to happen if you don't eat? You won't get overweight. And then we won't make a fish sandwich out of you. And they are already, that means spring is here. We already have forsythias across the street. Spring is in the air, and we're already trying to ride almost every day if we can. But let's finish up these few shop projects, and spring is here. We already have the waterfall going. We already have the garden bed. The other day Karen and I cleaned out the garden beds, and I'm ready. That's why I want to finish up these last couple projects on the Mt09, and we'll be ready for summer. As I hear the birds chirping, I just need to look at the two. They're actually Yamaha twins with the silver wheels and the purple blue paint. I don't know, they look pretty good together. Like twins. Not really evil twins either, they're good twins. And anytime I have the bikes out in the driveway, I like to look at them from a lot of different angles, just to see future ideas, future projects, or just to sit back and admire their beauty. So again, everybody seemed to think this grilling without the bolts was really nice. Now I'm going to try, I have of course plenty of this material. What I'm going to try to do today, I got to pull a whole seat apart here, is wrap a piece of that around the silver. Now if this doesn't work the way I want, I'll just paint that silver, but this is on there with some little snaps, those little fake washers. And I think having that little piece in silver will accent the wheels and accent all the other little things that we've done. All little lettering and striping on the windshield. And as I looked at my list this morning, there were 6 things left to do, and not one of them is going to require more than 1 day. So I'm 6 days away from being summer riding season. Now the main thing, just get this up where I can work on it conveniently, because I've got to take the seat off yet. And this 8 or 10 screws, these side panels come off, and then I can do the work down in the cellar. I have the material already down there. Now I've taken this tail section off, of course, more than one time to paint it, among other things. But one of the things I wanted to do is take this apart as a unit. That makes it a little bit easier. We learned that, you'll learn that the first time you did it. That'll just make it a little bit easier. You can take it off in 2 sections, but it's just a little bit easier to do it this way. And there's screws on the bottom you have to get. And once you get them, it should be a piece of cake. And this was a good job to fit in here today, because we do have work on the bed and breakfast. And by the way, for anybody that does keep track of such things, the kids already have their sheetrock in, and they're putting a floor in the next couple of days. And what helps when you undo the bottom bolts is having either a ball end driver to get them started or a short Allen wrench. Just makes it a little bit easier. Now most of the work that I've done on this bike has been pretty straightforward. In fact, it's so straightforward I haven't even bought the manual yet, which I think I got to get in gear here and get the manual. Sooner or later I'm going to run into something where I'm sorry I didn't buy the manual, and I've been putting it off because I've heard that you can buy it online in some digital form for just a few bucks. But I've never really followed through on it. So. And the shop manual for the R1 has been invaluable when I had to work on a fuel injection or the starter or anything where you have to take multiple things apart. And these little press guys that are in here, the little press pins, they come right out and we'll be ready to take half of this apart. Certainly a lot easier than the R1 is, but it's still such a help if you get complex jobs to have the manual. Not because I'm not a professional mechanic that does this every day. I've done it 3 or 4 times in the last year, but I always put the screws or the press pins in the order they come out and the tools that I'll need. In fact, I'll need the other wrench to put that back. And when it goes to put it back, I just reverse that and make sure I've used every screw. I haven't left one out or dropped one down the air intake. And once you have those screws, this piece comes off as a unit. And now you can see in the back, there's the little press washers that hold that screen. And I'm hoping I can put that screen right on top of this, but I won't know till I get down to the cellar. So let me take the other part off too, and we'll have the 2 matched pieces. Again, I hope there's some good information on this, and don't want to get fingerprints on this. I think this is going to be one of those little details that makes a major change. I was surprised how many people at Perry's mentioned how cool the screens look. And Joe Roselli, again, who has a good artistic eye. I trust his opinion. So Turbo Steve had no comment, but I'll have to grill him when I see him. Again, a lot of jobs like this, once you do them once, the second time you do them, it's a lot easier because you know what tools you need, you know how much time to allocate. And a day like today, when I have a limited amount of time, this is a relatively short job. But again, I think it's one of the jobs that's going to make, it's like these little triangles or like any of these little covers. Every one of them is a small detail that's going to add to the overall look of the bike when you stand back. And it's night and day when you park it next to a stock bike. I'm sure. I haven't had to do that yet, but I'm sure it's coming very soon. Again, it's a relatively easy bike to work on. You really only need 1 Allen wrench. Helps if it's a shorter than normal one, so you don't have interference with the tire. Parts go back on. That piece in the middle needs to be attached first before you put them back. Bolted together when you take them apart. It's definitely an upgrade. And I know because I tried taking it apart the other way, it's more work. And again, I always leave everything out in the order I have it out in, and that's just the easiest way I know to not leave a screw out somewhere that you don't see, especially those ones under the seat. You're gonna help me do these parts today? You're gonna work with me? Or are you just gonna play video games?
How about not?
So the first thing I always do when I'm gonna work on something is clean it up a little bit. And this has the side where the chain is, you always have a little bit of chain lube on the bottom and everything. Kind of just ordinary maintenance here. That's a big help if you make a screwdriver that comes to almost a razor point to pull off those little press washers. It's a good tool to have in inventory anyway, and I have plenty of old screwdrivers. Now, what I did, I sharpened up the screwdriver, of course, take an old screwdriver, and these things then you can get the sharp edge underneath, pop them off, relatively straightforward. And I was hoping I'm going to be able to use these as a pattern and put the new parts right on top. Of course, you want to save these and then flatten them out before you put them back on. Kind of self-locking or whatever you want to call it, but they work well. And it just requires a little prying here and there, back and forth, like taking a tire off. And that's the piece we're going to use for our pattern. So let me get some screening. Okay, so I cut a piece of screening a little bit bigger in every dimension, and I want to see if, now I'm probably not going to be able to get it to go up under that press pin, but I can get it to go around all of these and just make a little tab there. Then put that on the outside and go out by the other scoops and see if we have, I want it to look just like the scooping in the front. Now it was very important to me in terms of styling and execution. I wanted these two screenings to match exactly. Okay, so this shouldn't be that difficult. I want to leave on plenty of extra material. And I can leave about 1/8 of an inch of extra material here. It won't hurt anything. But I wanted these to be an exact match if possible. And I guess we're going to find out. That's going to have to put a hole in there, a hole there. Now, one of the things that will be a problem, I think, it's going to be a problem until I figure out a solution. I don't think it's going to be realistic to drill or poke a hole through the screen. So I'm going to have to try to bend those over like they're tabs and maybe have to epoxy. Because if I try to drill a hole in the screen, it's just going to make a mess. So, but we can see how this is going to play out. And this is why whenever you're doing something that you haven't done before, you always have to allow a little extra time. Well, now I need to see if I can bend this around in such a way that it's just going to be, this has a curve to it, and luckily the screening has a curve in the right direction too. Can you imagine? So bending that around, and I know I'm not going to be able to drill holes, so I'm going to have to come up with some alternative method there in the corners and then see how that fits in. Now what I realized is I don't need the holes at all, because what I'm going to do is wrap this around. I just pinched it around, it bends pretty easily. And just around all the parts that you see, and I'm sure that's going to hold it in position. I just want to see if that's going to be the look that's going to match, and I think it is. It's not, yeah, in fact, it's definitely going to be the same. It's the same screening, so it's got to be pretty similar. So this part of it, I wasn't quite sure how it was going to work out, but it's just a simple solution. I thought I was going to have to drill holes, not going to have to drill holes, and I really do like simple solutions. Simple solutions work pretty well for me. And I think that's going to be one of them. Once I put that down and back into piece, then I can compare it side by side with the other one. Well, that's going to be good. I thought if the other thing, if I didn't like the way this looked, I could paint the original screen silver. But I like the idea of this is if I want to evil twin it out, I can just take this off in a matter of a short amount of time anyway. So it has the look that this is going to work pretty well. Put these little press washers back on, and we'll see how we like it. And I always like when I'm doing evil twin stuff to make the stuff that I can go right back to where I was before I did the change. And that has, when it's come times you want to change the bike, very, very handy. Once you do one of these chopper things and chop the frame and cut something and cut the foot peg mounts off or something, then you're pretty much stuck. Well, it's an exact match to the screening in the front, so I guess that's it. Now, of course, all of this is in the eye of the beholder, and I had even thought about painting this blue, so, and I thought, but I think the silver is going to look great, and it's going to look great out in the sun. Even though this looks like it's going to rain today, I did want to shoot some photos at the end of the day. And again, I always refer to my photos as the way to, well, just decide whether I really like something at the very end. So all that's really left here is to do the other one off camera, and when we go and put these outside and get them bolted back onto the motorcycle. Again, it's a small detail. I think it's really going to be a nice little change. And I can always undo it in a matter of minutes. This today was an example of a day that it started out with one plan, it evolved to something else, we tried something else. But in the end, I always come up with what I think is the best solution possible. Yeah, they really did come out nice. I think that's going to be a nice little touch. Again, small details, big improvements. Time to put them back on the bike. Now, it's the little piece that in the middle that I found a little trick. You can get this part attached with the little press pins, and it just makes it easy to get the whole thing in place. Yeah, you can make this a little bit easier if you can get the first press pin in. There we go. And that holds that little piece in the middle up while you line up the screw. And once the press pin is in and just tightening up the screws, piece of cake. And then you can get the rest of the press pins in and then just go on to the other side. Now, a really good tip before you tighten any of the screws on top is to make sure there's a little tab, a little tang on the tail light that doesn't allow that to move around. And similar to the way the R1 goes together with little tabs and tangs and everything. And some of the parts on this, I took one extra screw out. I didn't have to take out of that before, but it didn't hurt anything. The parts stay together. And when you do this every day, like a professional would do, you would not do that. And that's why I leave the screws kind of in order, so I can always see which screw goes where, and if I've got an extra screw at the end, look around. And this is the little tab I'm talking about right here. Otherwise, this piece is out. And it'll still look right until you look real close. And you know that dead joint there should be nice and flush. And then you know you've got that tab. Then you can slide it forward and get the first bolt in to hold it in place while you put all the little zip fittings in the bottom. Kind of tricky, but once you do it once, it goes right away. I want to make sure I got this exactly right. Is to get that little tang in there first and then slide it forward. That's the little tip that's kind of worth it. If you use this little screw just hand tight, now you can get underneath and put all the little push pins in. Convenient. Now I always like to, if I can, just get everything hand tight before I tighten everything down. And these screws hold everything together. And the tricky part here is getting the push pins in, making sure that lines up. And you hear the noise when they click. That's nice. And when you hear that click, you know you got it. Okay, now it's just a question of getting everything tight and we'll be good to go. Well, the only thing left now is to just make sure all the screws are tight. And it actually looks like we're going to have some time for a photo shoot here. It's supposed to rain today, but we didn't get the rain coming in yet. So if I can, I'll get some pictures. It's just that when you shoot in cloudy conditions, the colors don't look as vivid. Did you come out to help me? The truth now, the truth. I could use your help right now. No! That's the answer I get every time. And to be honest, with the kids living here and we're running this bed and breakfast, this pseudo bed and breakfast, and it's time to start the farm. Karen's has already shopped for seeds. You believe that? But as ahead of the learning curve as we are here, the farm must go on. The farm supports our motorcycle habit in the summer. And these photo shoots always help me see things that I wouldn't see, because out here in the garage we have fluorescent lighting. Outside with the sunlight, I want to see it under various lighting conditions and how this is going to look. So far, I think it's going to look great, but just hope it doesn't rain in the next 20-30 minutes. It actually looks like the weather's going to be pretty decent. It's not real sunny, but it's decent anyway for photos. Well, my first impression is that's a perfect match to the front scoops. And that definitely, in my mind, was worth a couple hours that we put into it. And that is really a perfect match to these scoops. And so, well, we'll shoot some pictures and go down and look at everything on the computer. Now, to me, using the photo shoots that I do pretty much at the end of every modification and looking at the bike from every possible angle after I've painted parts and trying to decide that I like it better the original way or the new way. And my feeling at the end of everything is every time I add a part that used to be flat black and make it blue, I like the bike better. Just me, because I'm an old school guy. Now, I'll bet you any money there's some young people that would take this bike if they bought it in a dealer and go get a can of spray black paint and paint it all black, make it all mean and nasty looking or whatever. And well, you know, but the problem is I'm not young. And well, I've already been old, but I don't know if all of the young people are going to live to be old. So there's something there to be said, but I don't know what it is. And I'm so thankful to John Pothier, who made all of the photoshopping we did on this project and on all the projects. And we go back with John. I mean, to dinosaur time, we were doing model airplane stuff together too. But the whole point is that this is a tool you have if you're a really good artist. you can do sketching and drawing and stuff like Chip Foose. Well, I'm not that good of an artist. I'm not even a mediocre artist, but I have concept ideas in my mind, and the photo shoots and Photoshop allow me to maximize the impact that I can have on some of these projects without having to do them 2 and 3 and 4 times and then say, oh gee, I didn't like it. I painted the wheels gold. I should have painted them silver. It's a lot easier to do it in Photoshop, that's for sure. But if you're going to do it in Photoshop, you need pictures. That's the problem. And so going back to the original thing is when I did the FZR, I did all concept sketches and inked them in. Same thing with the 650. But from that point on, pretty much John has been able to I can talk to him on a phone. We do a joint phone call, and he can sketch in the scoops in different colors. The windshield, we can change things. It's so handy and it's so valuable to me. Thank you, John. And all of this is so worthwhile to me because I plan to keep the bike forever. Number one, the bike suits my riding needs and my ergonomics and my performance requirements. And it's such a fun bike to ride. And the fact that Karen got me for my 75th birthday. I don't know how many 75-year-old guys get an Mt09 for their birthday. I don't know, but anyway, it works big time for me. And thank you, Karen. Thank you. Now, one final little tip, because we've been riding on salty roads, you see how the salt accumulates around the sprocket here? And what I do is I take a rag with a little bit of WD-40 on it and just wipe that off as the chain. You got to wipe it from the other side. That salt, once that starts to corrode everything, what a mess you have. That's my final tip for the day. And it was a great photo shoot. I think this is going to be real productive because we still have things we want to plan on the bike. Now, I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag. There's at least 6 small little details I want to do. And every one of them is like a one-day project, so it'll be a lot of fun. And all the little parts like this that we've made and parts we've modified, and the Graves tail tidy, and just every one of them, the little things on the foot pegs, every one of the covers. I think it's just made it to me, a motorcycle, let's be honest, a motorcycle is like a beautiful woman. You want to just sit and stare at it. And here I am, I'm going to go have a cup of coffee while the sun is still out and just oogle a motorcycle. And it's funny, Dallas and I used to go back and forth about, we'd sit outside with a cup of coffee and oogle the motorcycle. I thought that was pretty cool. And that's a bike worth oogling, to me. But of course, it's all in the eye of the beholder anyway. A good bike to oogle. So I hope you did enjoy the video. One of the things we try to do is make the videos enjoyable, make them fun. Hey, my grandson comes out. He didn't help much today, to be honest. He has in the past. He helped me wax the tires, especially the part you ride on. That was the important part. So sometimes it's better if he doesn't help that much. But it's always fun having him around. We have we're supposed to have a little bit less than a month for this bed and breakfast thing. And I'm hoping I'm going to be able to get this done. I put a lot of my parts on my motorcycle things are on hold for the next month, but in the meantime, we've gotten this little detail done. I'll be able to look at the photo shoot tonight, and I'm going to be planning out the next couple little details. Now, nothing radical. It's all little things that I think, and I've always said this, it's little changes, little details that make a big change in a motorcycle. Big. Somebody left a comment on the that I really thought was nice. They left a comment on the YouTube channel, and I'm going to be doing more of those question and answer things as soon as I get a day to devote to that. But here's the whole thing. They have other MTs. I think they have an MT10 and MT3, and I'm not sure. I got to go back and look at it. And the only one they didn't have was the Mt09, and I said, wow, you got to round out the collection. You know, just put your house up, double mortgage it, or even better, the thing is, go to Las Vegas. or the whole thing is, have your wife buy it for you for your birthday, you know. Anyway, I was lucky enough to did get this for my 75th birthday. And the people that follow the channel and follow our adventures all around, and our meetups and our technical projects, and of course, the history of the A-Team, which is just a wonderful, wonderful memory. And I'm so glad I shot all that video. And I'm so glad I have this collection of bikes in this part of my life to keep me active, keep me busy, keep my mind active, my mind sharp, keep my riding skills sharp, and most of all, It's the fountain of youth for me. So if you enjoyed the video, I hope you share it with your friends. And of course, I hope, most of all, that we'll see you tomorrow. And thanks again for watching.